that's the thing, right? But the vortex is really cool to see. Like when someone gets caught in a vortex, you're like, oh my god, dude, I quit Street Fighter 4 because I really hated vortex. And Street Fighter 5 came out and there's like no vortex, and I like the game way better this way. So yeah, and then there's no juggle combos in Street Fighter 5. There's very few juggle combos. The game wasn't designed in a way that it could be extremely flashy, and that's the biggest problem with the game. That's why a lot of people think it's boring. Another thing too is that, again, you know, a lot of the garbage that was going on in Street Fighter 4, the Vortex, the OSs, Invincible Backdash, Uppercut FADC, a lot of people blame that stuff for why they weren't winning the game. They were just like, there's too much garbage in Street Fighter 4, so once we get to Street Fighter 5, I'll start winning, I'll show you. And they lose anyway in Street Fighter 5, and now they're like, they gotta blame something else, so it's like, oh, I hate this, I hate wake-up jabs, I hate anti-air jabs. So let's break this down a little bit. Let's think about this a little bit here. You know, people hate wake-up jabs, right? Wake-up jabs are super good. Are wake-up jabs super good? The answer is actually no. Wake-up jabs are not super good. What's super good is quick rise versus back roll, because almost no character has one move that can cover both of those options. Because you have those two options, wake-up jab becomes good. If there was no back roll, if there was only quick rise, no one would get hit by a wake-up jab ever. Ever, 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 ever. Because we all have our quick rise meaty timing combos. But because of the back roll, you try to do a meaty on a quick rise, they back roll, they get up and they jab and they kill you. Or you expect them to do a back roll, they quick rise, you try to hit them quickly and you weren't reacted in time, and then they wake up jab you. Wake up jab is not the problem, it's the quick rise and the back roll. But is quick rise back roll really a problem? Isn't that what it was designed to prevent? Was the standard meaty, was to prevent the vortex? Yeah, that's kind of what it was for. And so in actuality, it worked out perfectly. It's doing exactly what the game was designed to do, was to make it so that you couldn't get this free meaty pressure on opponents. So in my opinion, if you think wake-up jabs are too good, don't go pressure them. Knock them down and then rely on your footsies again. Why do you have to meaty characters? That's the problem right now, is that a lot of people feel like they have to pressure in meaty because that's what they see a lot of top players are doing. Don't. Or unless you start understanding the quick rise back roll mechanic, then start applying your meaty properly. But if you're not timing it right, you're going to get hit by wake-up jabs all day. And then even something like anti-air jabs. A lot of people hate anti-air jabs. Yes, anti-air jabs are stupid. I don't like Necalli's anti-air jab. I don't like Alex's anti-air jab. I don't like Chun-Li's anti-air light kick. But you know what? You don't have to jump. I mean, Vi said this on Twitter. Everyone blew him up for it. You don't have to jump. In fact, Street Fighter is very much a not jumpy kind of game. Yeah, there are situations where you'll jump a move that looks like it should have a lot of lag and then they still jab you anyway. But you know what? Look, plenty of people can get past it and you can out-footsie people. It's possible. It's not like this thing that ruins the game. You can talk about these kind of things in every single game. I mean, like, what if we were... Like, every game you can nitpick something like this. You know, it's so easy to nitpick on stuff. And not only that, but today's age in the social media's verse, it's so easy to piggyback on everything. And in fact, that's what social media is all about, right? You get the right wing, you get the left wing in politics, you get the Gamergators, you get the SJWs, you know, and every organization, every group, every side tends to skew far to the edge as possible. So you're sitting here and you're seeing some of these top players like anti-air jabs are stupid. And you're like, yeah, they are stupid. And then you mention it and then someone else mentions it. And all of a sudden now anti-air jabs are the bane of the entire existence of this game. Like even in Street Fighter 4, I never hated uppercut FADCs. But for some unknown reason, towards the end of Ultra, that became one of the big hot topics. Like, uppercut FADC is stupid. Like, it makes everything risk-free. It's so dumb. It's so broken. Man, if that wasn't in there. And then one-frame links became the hot topic. Man, I'd be good at this game if I didn't have to learn one-frame links. And everyone dogpiled on one-frame links. Everybody dogpiles on something like this, and it's ridiculous to me because, like I said, all of it makes sense. Yes, would I like to see anti-air light punches nerfed? Yes, absolutely. I hate them too, but they're not going to ruin the game for me. They're not a sign of why the game is bad. It's a problem with the game, and it's something they probably didn't realize was going to be so good. And in Season 2, maybe they'll tweak it. Hopefully they will. I love the approach that Capcom is using right now, that they're not changing the game until Season 2. I like that, personally. That's just how I feel, you know? And so, dude, everybody hated on one-frame links. I don't know, like, seriously, like, one-frame links was... I used to talk about execution, everybody like, one-frame links are garbage, they're ruining the game, I hate them, they make everything terrible. Like, seriously, at that one point in time, it was really, really bad. Yeah, exactly. So... Glasses Are God says the perfect thing. People are complaining that you could jump in so freely all day, yet they're also complaining about anti-air light punch. What is it? What do you want? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not sure. It's just whatever people want to complain about, they find it and they dogpile it on social media. And it's the biggest problem of today's day and age. Not even when it comes to fighting game community, when it comes to video games in general, when it comes to the world in general, it's so easy to dogpile on things, pick one thing and really just take it to the extreme. And KOF is too hard. That's another one, KOF 13. Everyone complained about how hard that game is, you know? And it's so easy to hear something and then just kind of attach to it as gospel. And that's what I don't like about the way people talk about fighting. Smash is a kid's game. There's another one. Smash is a kid's game. And so when on the Tuesday show, I sit here and tell you that Melee has higher execution than any fighting game that we're playing currently, everyone's like triggered. They're like so mad. And by the way, I'm not going to use that word anymore because triggered is a completely different meaning and it has completely destroyed what its original meaning is. Everyone got upset when I said that Melee actually has the highest level of execution of all the fighting games that are being played, like at EVO and even inside tournaments. Everyone's like, that's impossible, like, it's a kid's game. But that's what you want to believe, right? You don't believe in the fact that that game has so much execution and it has so much skill involved in that game. Everybody is just getting frustrated, and I can't stop it. There's no way I'm going to stop it. I'm never going to be able to stop it. Everyone's going to get salty about it. And it's just going to happen because that's the internet and that's the social media. But what I can do is just sit here on my stream of less than 300 people, and hopefully I can get people to understand that that's not necessarily the case. There are problems with Street Fighter V. I've named some of them. The execution, the lack of execution is a problem, right? I actually starting to think that the stages might be too short. Street Fighter 4, the stages were too long, but it's too easy to get put in the corner in Street Fighter 5. If the stages were longer, they might actually be better. There's a lot of little problems here, and I can go on and on about Street Fighter 5's gameplay problems, but that's not gonna mean I don't like the game. I loved Guilty Gear XX, for example. We're not talking about Exert here. I loved Guilty Gear XX. It was one of my favorite series. I preached it all the time. Go play this game, go play this game, go play this game. Yet I hated FRCs, I hated slashbacks, and I don't like instant blocks. I didn't like all three of those things. But I still love the game. You know, yeah, SOCOM Red, a lot of people said Smash wasn't a fighting game. It wasn't designed to be a fighting game. But at this point in time, it's a fighting game. It's like, who cares, right? Like, I call Virtual On a fighting game. And it's a game of mechs in third person behind the back view. And it requires 2 screens. It's a fighting game. Like, fighting game is anything that you can make competitively one-on-one with this idea that you're trying to do damage to the opponent to the point where you can defeat them. Kind of counts as a fighting game, to be honest with you. Yeah, exactly. SF Cross Tekken stages were huge. Everyone cried about that, but that's because that game you could run away a lot. In Street Fighter V, they had the accident that everybody corner carries super well, and now the short stages are a problem because characters like Chen or Mika put you into the corner on one combo every single time, and now you have to deal with this mix-up all of a sudden. You know, dude, if people wanted to take Dark Souls and turn it into a fighting game, I'm sure they could do it. I'm sure they absolutely could do it. But, yeah, I mean, look, obviously there's going to be loose definitions of fighting games, but Smash Brothers is as much a fighting game as any other game. And the main point about this is that, like, look, go ahead and complain about Street Fighter V. You have every right to complain about it. I complain about Street Fighter V. I sit there and I talk about how boring Cammy is all the time. I hate how she plays in this game. Yet I use her, yet I play the game, and yet I like the game. I think the game is fun. I think the game is fine. But I have 1,000 things I can complain about it. Xrd, I can complain about it. There's very little to complain about Xrd, because Xrd's awesome. But there are things to complain about Xrd. King of Fighters, I'm playing King of Fighters. I'm having a great time with this game. I have things that I can complain about this game too. I can complain about Killer Instinct, and I promote Killer Instinct all the time. I think it's a great game, but I think there's problems with it. They all have problems, and you have every right to complain about it. You have every right. It's perfectly legitimate to complain about it. But one, make sure you understand the thing that you're complaining about. Don't complain about it because everybody else complains about it and you're latching onto that, right? Number two is that don't say just because there's something to complain about the game that the game is garbage, that it's no fun, that you should be playing other games. Respect the people who play whatever games they want. You know, I didn't like Street Fighter Cross Tekken. In fact, I still hate that game. But you know what? I'm not going to tell people not to play it. If people like the game, they have every right to like the game. There's so much about that game that bothers me. And if other people enjoy it, then I'll let them enjoy it. I'm not going to be running around saying you shouldn't play Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Go play a different game. I don't like Third Strike. Okay, perfect example. But I'm not telling people not to play that game. I'll play it even myself. I don't like the game, but I'll play it myself because there's fun to be had out of the game. But it's not my favorite game. It's just one of those situations. So sorry, I'm getting into this stupid soapbox rant here that I probably really shouldn't be doing right now. But that's just and see, that's the thing. Zeppel Clown says I don't feel like Street Fighter V has very much room to express yourself and play your character your way. That's true and false. It's false because I feel like Street Fighter V has some of the most expressive ways to play your character. The way people play characters are very different, and I really like that about it so far. So for example, let's take Arturo, Filipino champ, and Commander Jesse. They all play Dhalsim. They all play Dhalsim in a very, very different way. Very, very different way. Fudo, Knuckle Dew, and normal Mika, all play Mika in a very different way. Christitarian even, and Brent. Christitarian and Julio play similar, but Christitarian, Brent, Momochi, they all play Ken in a very different way. You actually have a lot of room to express yourself in this game because there's no vortex, because there's no set play. There's not a right answer on how to do everything. Whereas when you watch Street Fighter 4, everyone was doing the same thing because there was that one correct thing to do. If you're Akuma and you knocked him down with a sweep, here is the thing that you're supposed to do. Here is your vortex setup. So every Akuma did it. Now, the reason why what you said is correct, what you said is correct is because Momochi's not gonna do anything that looks different than what Brent is doing. Filipino champ is gonna do the same combos that Arturo's gonna do, are the same combos that Commander Jesse is gonna do. So it doesn't look like it. If you look at it on a surface level, yeah, it doesn't look like anyone's able to express themselves because they're doing the same combos over and over and over and over again. But when you actually examine their playstyle, it's more different. It's more varied than I think it was in Street Fighter 4. When you looked at the top Camis, they all looked really similar to each other. When you looked at the top Fei Longs, they all looked really similar to each other. It was only what they were able to accomplish execution-wise that really kind of made them stand out. And that's why I feel like Street Fighter V is just missing execution. I really wish that they... Because a lot of people like seeing things that they can't do. If if Daigo's best combo is standing medium kick, V trigger, standing roundhouse, link into super, like everyone's like, I can do that anytime I want. Like, why is Daigo special? And that's a problem, you know? And so a lot of people who hated execution in fighting games and thought that was the only reason why they weren't good because they didn't have execution, you know, that voice was really loud at the end of Street Fighter 4. So Street Fighter 5 comes out with less execution, King of Fighters comes out with less execution. All these games have lowered their execution, and in the case of Street Fighter 5, it's so low that there's just like nothing interesting to see anymore. So yeah, you're seeing the same things over and over and over and over again. 6 months into this game, we see the same combos, we see the same shimmy, we see the same mix-ups, we see the same everything. And so you're just thinking to yourself, man, there's just no variety in this game. This game is boring beyond all reason. And yeah, from a viewer standpoint, it's absolutely boring to watch. You know, and that's the problem. And that's one of the things that I think is a big weakness in Street Fighter 5. So it's really tough. It's really tough. And the other problem too is that honestly, Street Fighter 5 was born into an age of streaming, and it was born into an age of technology discovering. We have so many scientists now that sit down in training mode and find things. If Street Fighter 4 came out right now, we would like have all the combos already practically figured out. It's the people's ability to figure things out, the people's ability to actually the people's ability to figure out like the optimal tech is so high now. It's happening to almost every fighting game when it comes out. So Street Fighter 5 was born into this age, and so 6 months into the game, it feels like we know everything, it feels like we found everything, and it's probably largely because we have found most of what the game has to offer. But that doesn't necessarily mean Street Fighter 5 is empty. That just means that people are too smart and too good. It's kind of like that Daigo thing. You know, I said that Daigo hasn't dropped in his skill level. It's everybody caught up to Daigo, which is why he has a little bit harder time winning. And he's on YouTube everywhere, so everyone knows how Daigo wants to play. So everyone kind of has an ability to study Daigo and figure out how to play against him. But Apollo 708 asked, what are my thoughts on Tekken? Dude, Tekken 7 looks beautiful right now. Tekken 7 looks beautiful right now, and I think it's probably the best looking fighting game out there. I have my own qualms about that game from a viewer standpoint. It has similar problems in which it makes it harder to watch. Not necessarily to play. To play it's great, but to watch it's a little bit tough. Because most of the time when characters hit you, it's just a juggle combo. And everybody's juggle combo looks generally the same, even though they're using different kicks and different punches and different sequences or whatever like that. But to the average viewer, all the juggles look the same. And so when you watch it, it doesn't necessarily look like there's a lot of variety to it. But that's because they're not understanding the neutral game. Like, one of the things as a person who doesn't play Tekken is I have a really hard time figuring out why a character is stronger than other characters. They all look like they have sweeps, they all look like they have launchers and hop kicks, they all look like they have similar things. I couldn't tell you what makes a character better than others. And it's harder to tell that from watching Tekken than it is a lot of other games. Also, I do think that Tekken needs to have people yelling out special move names, because I just think that that kind of associates moves with words, and so people recognize those a little bit better. But having said all that, they've lowered the execution barrier in that game. They've added Akuma into that game, and it seems really, really cool because he's very familiar to Street Fighter players, and Harada wants to make him play exactly like a Street Fighter character. So it's beautiful, it's great, and the game is so beautiful. The slow motion finish is probably my favorite thing in, like, my favorite aesthetic thing in fighting game history. Like, I think it is just beautiful, and it's so hype. And that was one of the problems with KOF, with Tekken before, is that end of rounds would be like, boom, replay, boom, replay, boom, replay. And it's like, oh. MK has that problem right now. Boom, finish it. Start button, go restart match. you get no catharsis off of the KOs from Mortal Kombat, and I felt that way about Tekken before, but Tekken 7 has changed all that. The catharsis that you get from the release of tension that you get from KOs in Tekken is now. It's great now. Mortal Kombat has a huge problem. I think it's one of the hardest things about watching Mortal Kombat. Is you're watching Mortal Kombat top 8, you're like, oh my god, it's coming down to the wire, this guy's got a jump kick, pause, restart, match. Oh, we're back in the match. Like, there's just something about that like kills all hype and kills all momentum, and it's really, really irritating to me. Like, I wish MK players would start getting to the point where they would just let the KO happen, wait, and then do restart or something like that. It's really frustrating. Yeah, Guilty Gear has the slowdown too. It's not as good as Tekken's. Let's be honest. It's great. It's not as cool as Tekken's. But you know, there's just so much about presentation that I think a lot of people are missing. And you know, there was an article I read. I've quoted this article many times. I talk about this all the time. A lot of you guys on stream have probably heard me talk about this before. But honestly, that game, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. This is what happens when you're old. But yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much to understand about being visually appealing. One of the reasons why Marvel is so fun is because the characters are so cool. They go crazy and they shout "Bionic Arm!" and like that's why the audience, every time he does the super, they're always like, "This is it!" Like everyone wants to yell those things, and it's like it creates this kind of cathartic association with these moves. You get release out of that, and it's just really cool. Even when commentators jump on stream, I'll tell you right now, what most beginning commentators do is they start repeating the moves. I used to do that all the time until someone told me, why do you keep doing that, James? And I tried to stop it out. But before, I used to always be like, you know, I used to repeat everything. Like, I used to love repeating Taskmaster stuff just because he had the Brooklyn accent. I used to repeat all, oh, fire, fire, oh, yo, mine, mine, you know, Berserker Barrage. Or, you know, I used to repeat everything all the time. And everybody does that. Like Justin does that on commentary all the time, and it's just a cool thing to yell out your special moves. It's a really, really cool thing to have. Yeah, I mean, even something watching as boring as Flames of the Faltine Impact Palm Loop. Flames of the Impact Palm, Flames of the Impact, Flames of the Impact, Flames of the Impact. Like, just because he's yelling that makes it more tolerable to watch. Like, can you imagine if it was just if it was MK sound effects? Like, Flames of the Impact Palm loops would be seriously the most boring thing on the entire planet, right? And like people even said it in Mortal Kombat, the thing that they quote the most is "get over here" or "ding dong," right? I mean, it's like when you have that speech, it's like it works. Yeah, TAC Infinites are hella boring to watch because people don't say anything, you know, that's a problem, but people love to say a lot of stuff. And yeah, and absolutely, so Froze Knight, yeah, look, MKX is a great game. It's a great, great game. Right now it has a problem and that Alien is overpowered. Hopefully the new patch fixed that, but it's a great game. The variations on the characters are super cool. There's a lot of really, really smart designs in that game, and it's one of the only games that, like, the character variety is super good. Like, even when you play something like Guilty Gear, a lot of characters are very rushed down. Like, Raven seemed like he was going to be kind of interesting in this different way, but it turns out, oh, he's a Vortex character. You know, it's like a lot of characters are Vortex. But MK, like, has some true zoners. It has some true rush down characters. I felt like MKX is a super, super good game, and I like that about that. Same thing with Killer Instinct. They've got some really, really interesting character designs, although, in my opinion, Season 3 is a little over-designed. I think the characters got too cute in Season 3, and that kind of turned me off a little bit. However, that's my personal opinion. It turned me off a little bit on that. Other people still love it. Other people really love it, and you know what? Go play Killer Instinct, because you might find out that you love it too. But if you listen to me and you're like, oh, James said that the Season 3 characters are overdone. He's right. That's why I don't like Killer Instinct. And you've just cheated yourself of an opportunity to learn a game that you may really, really enjoy. So, you know, I'm saying all these things, but don't even take what I'm saying as gospel. Don't even use what I'm saying and go on the Twitter and be like, oh yeah, you know, Season 3 characters are over-designed in Killer Instinct, that's why the game is bad. You know, like I said, just come at it with yourself. You know, that's just like one of those things that you have to understand, so. Oh yeah, background music is huge. Background music is huge. Wake Up Breakfast says that he thinks that OST goes into that boat too. Killer Instinct is hyped to watch because the music is godlike. The music in Killer Instinct is ridiculous. But, MK, Injustice, there is no music. I mean, that's the music in Mortal Kombat and in Injustice. And you're like, I have no idea what's going on. It's a huge thing. Dude, so one of the games that I'm actually really excited about, Fighting is Magic. I'm sorry, Them's Fighting Herds. They changed the name of it because it's the new game. Them's Fighting Herds sounds ridiculous. What they're doing with the soundtrack in that game, like if you guys haven't seen their announcement a while back of what they're actually doing with the soundtrack, is ridiculous. It's so good because what they do is they have a background song and they play the background song, but every song has a version of the song that's geared towards a character. So for example, one character will have a banjo sounding soundtrack, the other character will have a xylophone-esque soundtrack, another one will have more of a, you know, grim or whatever like that soundtrack. So while you're playing in the match, the background music is playing normally, but when one character starts getting on a roll or gets a huge life lead, the music is actually going to shift to that character's version of the song. So if, like, let's say the one character, like I said, has more of the Western theme, if he starts winning, the background music, which is the same background music, is going to start sounding like his version of the background music. And that is going to be super cool. That is going to be super, super awesome, I think. But, like, soundtrack is huge. Presentation is really important in fighting games. And I think that's one of the things that we're all trying to learn in this new modern age. That we're all trying to figure out at this point in time. This is a new thing. Street Fighter V is a new thing. It's an experiment. It's trying to be a platform. It's coming out in the age of esports. It's coming out in the age of Twitch. They don't have the right answers yet. MKX doesn't have the right answers yet. Killer Instinct doesn't have the right answers yet. None of these games have the right answer yet. And that's just generally how it's going to be. We'll figure it out, but we'll keep working on it. And it doesn't even have to be Street Fighter V that brings us to the promised land. Guilty Gear could have another Woshige moment, get on ESPN, and then everyone just starts playing Guilty Gear, and Guilty Gear becomes the biggest thing. And I have no problem with that. If Street Fighter V becomes, you know, the third most popular game, no problem. I have no problem with that as long as the fighting game community continues to grow. Street Fighter V, however, is just poised to have the best chance in that. And that, again, is an unfortunate situation. That game and Smash Brothers and potentially Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat because everyone knows, get over here, and everyone knows who Sub-Zero and Scorpion are. Smash Brothers because everybody knows who Pikachu, Mario, Yoshi, Link, Zelda, Samus, all these people are. And Street Fighter, everybody knows who Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li and Guile are, for example. Like, you can go up to someone on the street and be like, do you know who Chun-Li is? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's that one girl. Yeah. You know, that's what they'll say, you know. But if you go up to someone on the street and be like, do you know who Milia is? Do you know who B Orchid is? Do you know who Soul Bad Guy is? Do you know who Heihachi is? Like, it's not going to be quite at that level quite yet. You know, but if it can get to that point, so be it. I'm super stoked for that. So, if League of Fighters has the right answer and it tries to steal the fighting game community, you know what? We'll see what happens then. Because Riot obviously has their own way of doing things, and it's starting to come into question right now. So it'll be curious to see how that works. I have no predictions on what's going to happen with that because that's really kind of an unknown territory thing. So, yeah, anyway, sorry guys. I'm not even playing anymore. I'm sitting here, like, people are probably tuning in like, oh, cool, James is playing King of Fighters. And they come here and instead they're listening to me rant instead. And this is another one of my state of the fighting game kind of soapboxes right now. So Twitch TV Police says, I preferred when launch fighters had no balance change input from players and let the designers make the game how they want. Street Fighter V is balanced because they had constant input from people, but I feel because of it, characters feel weak overall in terms of options, and because of this, I expect every future rebalances, the cast overall will get weaker and weaker. I don't know. I agree with you, though. I think the public opinion is a little bit too strong. And it definitely has a lot of effect on people. And it's because people don't necessarily know what they don't like about a game. Even I don't know what I don't like about a game a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll complain about something and I realize afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the root cause of why I don't like this at all. It's something completely different. And so when you have a lot of people complaining about Street Fighter 4, about execution, whereas, look, I'm going to be straight with you guys. Street Fighter 4 was one of the most boring games in training mode because there was so little execution to do. And people were complaining about the execution in Street Fighter 4, mostly because of one-frame links and uppercut FADCs. And the problem is, so everyone complains about that. They take out all the execution in Street Fighter 5, and now everybody's doing the same things over and over and over and over again. And now everyone's mad about that. But they don't realize that. Now what they say is that, oh, Street Fighter 5 is boring. No, what they don't realize is that Street Fighter 5 is boring to watch. That's the key, right? It's completely different things. When you're playing it, a lot of top players do like the game. They do genuinely like the game. Like Flo has even said, like, this is the first time I felt like I've had fun playing a fighting game in a while. You know, when Street Fighter 5 first came out, a lot of people genuinely like the game. It's just that it's because all the cool stuff that's going on is in here and it's not happening on screen. Long story, Si-chan. I'll explain it another day. I definitely do want to talk about it. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And again, I do like Capcom's decision right now to not make any balance changes. I like letting them let it play out. Because, I mean, think about it. Think about what would have happened if they had balance in the middle of the game. When the game first came out, everyone would have been like, you know what? Rashid doesn't do any damage. This character's garbage. Give him more damage. Give him more damage. And let's say 3 months later, like right after Evo, they gave him more damage. They're like, okay, fine. Everyone's complaining about it. Let's patch him. Let's give him more damage. And then all of a sudden, John Takeuchi comes out and starts beating the crap out of everybody. And he wins first attack. And then everybody's reaction to that would have been like, man, he's only winning because his character's so good now. He's not even that good. Nerf Rashid, he's stupidly broken. Blah, 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 blah. But because Capcom let the game play out, everyone's like, hey, that's awesome that Takeuchi won with Rashid. And now some people are even like, Rashid might not be as bad as I thought. You know, like, seriously, it's really interesting to me. Like, people don't realize how... It's just... People don't know what they want, okay? I'm just going to say that. People don't know what they want. And there's always going to be a reason to complain about a lot of stuff. So... I like what Capcom is doing with Street Fighter V. I really, really like what they're doing. And you know what? If Season 2 comes out, what if they just add in some crazy-ass mechanic all of a sudden? They can absolutely do it. There's no reason for them not to do it. So, yeah. Dude, I would love to make a fighting game. If someone could come here and let me make a fighting game, I would be down for it. I want to make a fighting game. But you know what? A lot of people would hate my fighting game. A lot of people will hate my fighting game. And you know what? That's just because that's the way it works. That's just the way it works, right? You're not going to be able to fix that problem. But yeah, if I could make a Rival Schools game, if I could make a new ER Kung Fu, if I could make an Avatar, The Last Airbender video game, those are the 3 franchises that I would want to do the most for fighting games. Those are the ones that I fantasize the most. I fantasized about Darkstalkers a lot, but God, that's just going to be so hard to get right. That's just going to be so hard to get right. So, KOF 14 will last if we can make it last. It's really up to the scene, and it's really up to the people. Which is why I actually had a tweet a while ago that one of the things that I was getting mad at was people would be like, one of the bandwagon arguments in KOF is, this looks like a PlayStation 2 game, this game looks garbage. Dude, I play this game all the time, and I'm like, God, this game is ugly. God, why does this look so terrible? Or, man, this game looks like a PlayStation 2 game. I've made that joke a million times, but you know what? I'm playing it and I'm having fun. So it really doesn't matter. But the problem is a lot of people are taking that and using it as a reason to not play the game. Like, this game is ugly, I'm not going to play it. But the game is like, it's fun. It's great. I like it. And in fact, as a Street Fighter, it feels very Unio-like. It doesn't have the craziness that 13 had. I feel like the characters are a lot more varied, and there's some super awesome designs. Like Mien is just like the super coolest character. What a neat character idea. Mien, just being able to fly around the screen all day. What a cool character idea. No one's really done that in a 2D fighting game of this kind. Obviously in other games, you know, Sentinel can fly, unfly, and all sorts of craziness. But in a game like this, you've basically created a Sentinel in the game, and it's like, that's really sick. There's so many cool things about this game, and I just feel like, you know, if KOF is to survive, people do have to give it a shot, and then the people have to promote it properly, and you just have to give it the right mindset when you go in watching it. It's a shame. It's a shame that there are some people who won't give the game a shot because of graphics or because they just don't like the game in general. Whether or not the game could survive, it's really going to be largely up to the scene. And it's one of those things that I've always been the kind of person to, oh, thank you for the subscription, Buddhafuka. Arigato gozaimasu. Shishie, for the subscription. But that's kind of just what I believe. And yeah, and again, you know, I mean, sorry to do this again, but if you guys would love to support UltraChenTV, support myself, support David, support Sajam, Tasty Steve, we've got donate links on the bottom over there, which works with PayPal or credit card. We've also got Patreons, and we've got direct PayPals on the channel below. If you want to support us, it helps us a lot. I'm probably going to be doing a lot more Let's Plays. I do intend to start Dark Souls very soon. It's just, it's going to be a very busy month, so we'll figure out what's going on there. But yeah, exactly. You can play fighting games with stick figures. I mean, look, it's going to have that presentation problem. But you know what? It could be just as fun. It could be just as fun, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I'm talking in circles. I'm kind of repeating the same stuff over and over again. My point, really, the thing that kind of got me on this rant is that, you know, it's absolutely legitimate to complain about fighting games, but, you know, again, one, make sure you understand why it's a complaint. Don't jump on it just because everybody else does it. And two, don't make it as a reason to not play the game or to compare it to other fighting games. I can honestly say I like A game better than B game. I like Guilty Gear is my favorite fighting game right now. Exit Revelator is my favorite fighting game. I like it more than Street Fighter V. I like it more than KOF. There, I said it. There's my opinion. There's my subjective viewpoint. Am I going to say you shouldn't be playing Street Fighter V? You should be playing... Look, everybody should be playing Guilty Gear. But I'm not going to stop you from playing Street Fighter V or KOF or Killer Instinct or MKX. Like, those games are fine. Those games are fun. They are all great for their own reasons. They're all broken for their own reasons. Guilty Gear is broken for its own reasons, you know. It's just, you know, again, if you're, you know, I guess what it is just, I don't like this clashing thing that keeps happening, and including Smash Brothers too. Like, that's why I give Smash Brothers so much, you know, so many props, and why I include it in the FGC and I consider it a fighting game, because it's a fantastic game. When you watch the game, when you understand what Smash is really about, and this is actually something that I'm sad that a lot of commentators don't talk about, is because they kind of have a certain idea of how Smash commentary is supposed to go. But they don't talk about, they talk about the technical aspects and everything like that, but one of the things that I wish people would talk about a little bit more is, like, Smash is so much about resetting neutral. Smash is so much about resetting neutral finding a hit and then putting him off the stage to the point where the other person, like even when the guy lands on a platform and the other guy, Marth is down here, Fox lands up here, you aren't even in neutral yet. You are still in Fox is still in a terrible position. It's really establishing ground. Establishing solid ground is so important in Smash. And so when Fox is up here on a platform on Battlefield and Marth is down here, Marth still has a huge advantage because he's controlling center stage. And the other guy's still trying to find his way back in. And it's really hard to get back in. But once they get back in, they knock the other guy out, and then they have to get back in. There's this really fascinating screen position concept of Smash Brothers. And that's one of my favorite things about the game. And then there's the risk of jumping off the platform to chase other guys. And once you start understanding that about Smash, like, it becomes so fun to watch. It becomes so really, really cool to see how the flow of a Smash game goes. And I love watching Smash. Melee is probably one of my favorite fighting games to watch right now. Again, I'm going in circles again, and I'm just like soapboxing for nothing right now at this point. Mainly the point is, I like all fighting games. Yes, all fighting games have problems. Yes, you can hate a fighting game. You have every right to hate a fighting game. But it's just like, all fighting games having that chance is good for the FGC. If you hate Killer Instinct, if you hate Mortal Kombat, if you hate Smash, it's okay to hate those games. But it's like, there's no reason to say, like, get rid of the game, people should stop playing it, it's stupid. Look, there are people who are going to get drawn to Guilty Gear, there are people who are going to get drawn to Mortal Kombat. In fact, I was talking with Mr. Bill Walton at EVO, right? Mr. Bill Walton, the Hall of Famer, NBA player. And he's sitting there watching, and, you know, my assignment for the beginning of EVO Top 8 Grand Finals was to sit with Bill and Mr. Walton and basically talk him through the games, kind of help him talk about things and understand what's going on in the games. And when he was watching Mortal Kombat, and then when it switched over to Marvel, Marvel kind of lost appeal to him because it looked cartoony, whereas Mortal Kombat looked very realistic, and that was something that he clung to. So different games have the ability to draw in different people. The fact that fighting games are so varied, and that we have Mortal Kombat, we have Killer Instinct, we have Smash, and we have Street Fighter, we have KOF, we have Guilty Gear, means that we have like 10 entry points into the FGC. And that's important. That is super important, having that kind of ability to draw in people of all different kinds of mindset. If you're a person who doesn't like fantasy environments with magic and ogres and orcs and stuff like that, if for some reason you just hate that aesthetic, you're not going to play League of Legends, right? I mean, you're just going to be like, I don't like this aesthetic. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't like the fantasy realm. But if you're a guy who's like, I don't like fantasy realm, Mortal Kombat. You know, I like comic books, Marvel. I like anime, Guilty Gear. You know what? Street Fighter's slow pace appeals to me because I can see what's going on. Street Fighter. Oh, dude, I love Pikachu. Smash Brothers. Dude, like, we have so many ways to get people into the fighting game community that sitting here and saying, like, these games suck, they shouldn't be played, get them off stream, it's just bad. Like, every game serves a purpose. Every game is valuable here. And yes, some games are not going to be as popular. They're going to drop off. Some games get replaced. Things happen like that. And that's just going to be the ebb and flow of the fighting game community. But while these games are being played, it's just best to support them because it helps the fighting game community overall. So, there you go. So, yeah, exactly. People are going to play my game and they're going to like it. Rah! So, in any case, I'm really hungry. I need to go get food. So I think that was a good way to kind of close this segment here.